Hi there, it's Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, Worldwide TV Network, Women on TV.tv, iTunes 247 out of Franklin, Tennessee, and on all iHeart platforms around the world. Yes, I'm in my bed room. I've never done it in my bedroom. It's usually downstairs. So this is going to be interesting. All right, who are you and where are you coming from? And I like your name.
Oh wow! Well, thank you. Hello, world. I am Dantes to some, Dantes Alexander to many. I don't care what you call me as long as you call me Dantes. I am primarily a singer and actor. Most folks would know me from Showtime's Work in Progress, and I also have hit singles out, which would be So Below and TikTok. Dun, dun, dun.
See, and so yes, I do know you from that because I watch all my Showtime stuff on the press site, which is good. I'm glad I keep up with everything. Let's talk about this. How did you
Hey,
like
hey.
that show for one? And did you know the audience was gonna be there for that?
To be completely honest with you, when Work in Progress actually started, I was really shocked. Just because there's not a whole lot of representation, obviously, with LGBTQ projects,
Yeah.
and then also it being Abby McAney, who's from Chicago. I was really, really, really shocked to see that there was a real thirst for that type of content. I hate to use that word, content, but I feel like people wanted to see themselves, in something authentic. And the great thing I think about Work in Progress is that it really touches on a lot of unknown gender relationships that do exist within the LGBT community. And I think it's a phenomenal show. I'm so grateful to have been a part of season one, and we're getting ready to pick up season two soon. So we'll see if we still have those eyes and those ears there. It was a phenomenal experience, directed by one of the Wachowski sisters, which also from Chicago, Rogers Park. Woo woo woo! I had to throw that in there. So yeah, please be on the lookout for that.
You know what's fun about that? I knew them when they were he's at that point, the brothers.
Okay, so I think they are phenomenal. I think they are phenomenal. I I don't know what to say about them. I think they are always ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? Even when you talk about the projects that came out, 20 years ago, like The Matrix, even Sense8 and some of the other, projects that the girls have worked on, they've always been ahead of the curve, which has allowed them to always stay relevant, right? And in this business, anybody who does film or music, you're always trying to, stay relevant because the next generation is coming along with their own ideas. So it's just really refreshing to, work with people who are always ahead of the curve, which kind of keeps you present.
Well, and LGBT has always been ahead of the curve. Think of any slogan. You think black people have a great slogan? No, LGBT. They are you name it. I was there when RuPaul first started before anybody really knew who he was back in 1998.
And we worship Rue. We love
You
Rue. I
know,
love
and look where he is. I couldn't be more happier for him because of where they've gone. I think that's great. And then today what was it, the third, fourth season of Posse was renewed. Showtime always
yeah.
cutting edge if you go back to Q.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. Oh my
Goes way
God.
back.
Oh my God. Are you talking about Queer as Folk? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, that too.
Oh my God. Okay. Oh, okay. Maybe I shouldn't, because then I'm gonna like date myself. I shouldn't say that, but I have
You
like
can date
such.
yourself. You look fine.
Oh, God bless you. Okay, I'm still a young lady. I'm out of my late 20s. Anywho, um, but Queer as Folk, that was for me, growing up, like that was, oh my gosh, just groundbreaking television. Showtime, like you said, has always been groundbreaking, right? And I always, I think things, it's just so strange how things go full circle. You know what I mean? I went from watching, Queer as Folk, on Showtime, as a kid, and to, grow up and to, have the privilege to, being on another, trend setting show, and and to continue and to follow in those footsteps, of such a legendary show like that, is a great honor. And I don't think Queer as Folk gets a lot of recognition. I mean, obviously there was Noah's Ark and all of the other things that came after it, the L Word and all those things, but we want to definitely pay homage to the ones who weren't afraid to jump off the board and say, hey, these people have real relationships, real problems, and it's just more than sex. So kudos to Queer as Folk. We love you too.
Well, I remember as that straight black male and being one of the first, one of the few in the room to do interviews with that. You knew they were always holding back because they had to be careful with what they were saying back then, and I could see that even the Wachowski brothers, that the sisters now at that point, you kind of knew something was going on, but you know what? It can't be up to us to spill the beans. They have to come out on their own, and eventually they did, and good for them, because you can't take the talent away. You can't do that. No matter if you're talented, you're talented. Sometimes
Absolutely.
you're born with it. Sometimes it can be cultivated to a certain degree of things. But you know what? They're still talented. They still made another Matrix, right? You can't go wrong.
Oh yeah, there's 4 coming. The Matrix 4 is coming now, also too. I hate to say that I'm a Wachowski sister stan, but I mean, you have to give credit to the ones who lay the foundation for everybody else to follow. So I feel like if you're a younger artist, who's starting out, I have this conversation, with my nephew a lot. You should always research what happened, 20 to 30 years before, you were born, because that's where all of the substance, and good teaching, comes from. So again, I still feel like I'm like, I hate to use the term like lost babe in the woods, but, the last few years have just been really, really, phenomenal for me. I feel like I'm still caught up in this whirlwind, and I just try and, process things, very slowly. But I mean, when I realized that it was, one of the Wachowski sisters, because when when you're on set and you get your call sheet, you get all of these things, you look over everything, but you don't really, you know what I mean? You don't really realize who it is. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh, it is. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean? So, I very, very grateful for that. And I just hope that I'm able to, kind of continue, in that project. So like I said, season 2 is just starting now. So.
Just a lot of good stuff has been coming out of Chicago. I'm focused on the last couple episodes of Shameless. You know, I was there when they first started. Again, Showtime, and I'm like thinking, wow, who would have known this would have been going on for, is it 11 years? Yeah, season 11. Down to like the last 4 or 5 episodes, and I'm like thinking, wow, thank you, William Macy, and everybody was on, because man, they like there wasn't anything they weren't doing on that show. And
Yeah.
phenomenal, but you got the eyes and ears on that, because again, it's hard to get past season 3 on stuff. And then 5, you kind of 6, 7, you're stretching it, but you're lucky. You're like, can we do another season? Then that's what
Do I dare jump the
know?
shark?
Exactly.
But
I was curious on how they were shooting things in there. And one of my co-hosts, she's got a little part on the season final. She said today, when she called me, and I'm like, good for you. And she was talking about William Macy and Bill Macy and his wife Felicity. We've been friends for a long time, and they've always been nice people. So it was interesting to see how all of those things are unfolding. You want to root for people who are like nice to you, and we've all made mistakes one way or another. So, but what do you do? It's kind of tricky at that point. Everybody still needs to work.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree with you there. Kind of tricky. That's one of my favorite shows, actually. Showtime's awesome, dude. Showtime's awesome. There are. I'll be quiet. I don't want to say too much about the other networks, but Showtime has always been very, 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 very cutting edge. So, and we love them too. We love them. I'm sorry. I have this weird thing where I talk about myself in double, right? Like we.
Who cares? What's it like to be nominated for you on the music side of things?
To be in good company. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Like, to be in good company, right? like it seems like I think when fame suddenly happens, it just it happens. Um, Irregardless of however long you've been working at it. And for me, I've been doing film and music intermittently, for a few years, and looking up to certain people like LaBouche. I don't know if you remember that group, but
Oh
looking up
yeah.
to them, and being an adult, and being friends with them, and
Are you an adult?
um, I feel like an adult. I feel like
How
an
about
adult. I'm
my old co-host used to say overage juvenile delinquents.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. Well, see, yeah, I don't, yeah, I have to say I'm
You
an
know
adult
why he
now
said
because
that? He used to say that because we came from the adult side of things. That's why. On the adult world, if you could do certain things here and there, the worlds weren't mixing, but my worlds were mixing because I'm like, if I knew you were on this side and I'm doing interviews on this side and you're having a bad day on this side, you want to commit suicide, I got to take you out of your world and bring you into mine so you can be exposed to those people you might be looking up to so you can hear straight from the horse's mouth of what they've gone through. So my world's always mixed.
absolutely, yeah. And it's been a whirlwind. It really has been a whirlwind. When everyone creates something, you just hope that it gets noticed and it gets received well. But I think the greatest accomplishment anyone can receive is to be nominated for an award, from their city. And it, like I said, again, just in great company, like for the electronic dance music category, which I was nominated in. We had Green Velvet, who is also, I did not know, from Chicago, right? But world famous, DJ who has, traveled the world, played every major festival, Chance the Rapper,
Oh, yeah.
those types of guys, big, and it's like you just wake up one day and you're like, oh, hi, hello, I didn't know that you were here in the room with me, but okay, this is cool, this is great, this is real. You know what I mean? Like, I think when the nomination came for me, it was just like a realization that, oh wow, this is really real. My mother always said, I think everybody knows that, it's always a hobby unless it pays the bills. And I cried when I realized that, because it was just like how everything kind of became, full circle for me, from going to, audition for, work in progress, having, my face be seen in, several scenes on the show, and then to go from there to, release music and to have it be received, locally well. And then not only just locally, but like all over is just amazing. Um, and again, I'm so floored, that the reception has been, so well. I always try to write music that was sort of introspective as to what we see, in our daily lives. I think of a really bad joke that I saw on YouTube where they were making fun of Tracy Chapman.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's a wonderful artist, by the way. I thought that was horrible, but I wasn't really around to like throw bottles at the producers of that. I think that was in Living Color, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And but that's really, I mean, that's really true. When you're able to write, you're inspired by the simplest things. And obviously, when you live in a big city, like Chicago, there are a lot of moving parts that kind of inspire you. And when you're sequestered and locked away from everybody, what's the thing that you're dealing with? You're dealing with isolation, and that's what a lot of my music unfortunately has tended to revolve around because of the pandemic. And I just think it's really resonated with people, and it's kind of been like the gift that has been it just keeps going. It was just certified platinum on Spotify, which was amazing.
Wow, that's
um,
amazing.
I am in agreement with you. I
Now, let
I
me tell you why it's even more amazing now is because I'm waiting for my numbers to come up for on Spotify and Pandora and then Amazon Music. And let's say a year ago was easier because now you have everybody throwing everything up there. So that makes it even more special for you. But also the same thing, is congratulations with that, because that's not easy. It really isn't.
I let's just hope we can continue to put out music that that people resonate to. And I think if you're authentic, that you will always have an audience. And the fans and anything that can be viewed through other lenses, through ours, can really be seen as fake or real. And I want to make sure that I'm able to deliver something that is not only going to satisfy me, but satisfy what we're all going through. I like to think of myself as the little engine who could. I have grown up, like every other person, broken home situation, all of that. To find myself in good company, it's definitely it makes me get emotional. It makes me get emotional. It does.
Well, it becomes emotional because you know what went into doing all this, and you know how long it took. And I always tell people, especially the ones that are in the 20s, especially now, because it's not like you can move to California and all of a sudden be famous. It's not how it worked. Nothing happened overnight. It took years for all to happen. And I always tell people some things take a little bit longer. I think of Morgan Freeman. He started later in life when you really
Oh
think.
my gosh, yeah.
And look
And
where
they're all
Morgan is now.
they're and I was having a conversation with a famous friend earlier today, and I had to put something into perspective with them. That several of their hits came out when I was 8, 9 years old, and he said, "Oh, that makes me the grandfather." you know and I said to him, I said that for me, I want to have that same type of impact, that you and everybody else from that period has had, because again, like you just mentioned, Morgan Freeman, and he's been doing this for I mean
A while.
a while. I think longevity is something that's not really a focus now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I very much am a student of those guys, like Morgan Freeman, Denzel Washington, Cicely Tyson, God rest her soul, musicians, Michael Jackson, LaBouche, all of these guys. Like, I very much admire them, and I like to tell them and let them know, that everything that we're doing now is really truthfully only possible because of all of the dedication, and that all of those things are inspirations to to everybody. And I don't think that people realize when they're working on projects, that it's going to affect somebody, as they try and figure out where they you know fit, excuse me, in the world, in the greater scheme of things. So it's very empowering to look at all of those people and to understand that we're not alone. You know what I mean? Like me and you, in this business, like, we're not alone. Like, there are others who have done it and who have got there. That's very empowering for me. And I know that if that's empowering for me, I know that my story, is empowering for somebody else. And if they are listening, if any one of those great people, are listening or watching, again, thank you.
You'll be surprised. I'm surprised who watches half the time and they tell me, like, what? Here's the other thing. Had my shaman had not told me in October of 1993, Brian, you're a late bloomer. If you made it in your 20s, you would have had 3.5 kids and been married twice. When she said that, it was a sigh of relief. Not everybody is supposed to hit in their teens or their 20s. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's better to hit in a more mature age, go through life experiences, as I call them. I think you kind of went through that too, right?
Oh, how do you know?
From the demeanor.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
I
That's how you
definitely have.
know.
I've paid my dues. You're absolutely right.
Exactly. but it comes from those things, and when you hear that, it's better because also those people who made it at one point, they're doing their best to stay relevant. They've got to hook up with those younger people. You think of Frank Sinatra or Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett's a better example of singing with a Lady Gaga or somebody like that.
Oh, but what I mean, oh my gosh, but how brilliant though, right? Like I love another good example too would be I think it was Genius and Friends.
Yeah.
That was unfortunately, we lost we lost Amy too, but those are really great examples actually. But I think that's good and that's healthy. Because it's an introduction. It's an introduction to a new set of ears. Oh my God, I love that Tony Bennett and Gaga album. I thought that was wonderful. I really did. It almost reminded me of like some of the other projects that I had listened to as a kid growing up, like when Lauryn Hill had taken control essentially of Aretha Franklin's album. That I think it was the Rose, the Still Rose album.
Yeah.
And it was just beautiful because it was Aretha, same thing. Like it was Tony, but it was very present. It was very present. It was saying, we are, I'm still here. I haven't gone anywhere, and this is what I have to offer. And it connects. And the reason why it connects is because they're not tracing a trend. You know what I mean? And that's authentic. And shout out to Tony. I love him too. God bless him.
Well, do you deal with? Have you ever dealt with Screaming Rachel out of Chicago from Trax Records?
Yes, I have.
So, what do you think of them?
Um, um,
Never
I
mind.
I love Trax Records. I have a great deal of respect for Trax Records. I suppose it doesn't matter at this point now because I am where I am now at this point because of my own merit. So I guess I can share stories. But there was a point in time where Dantes was in talks with Trax Records, but um, excuse me, some things had occurred, and I had obviously had made some other decisions, but I again with Trax Records, very legendary label, very legendary name, and I have a lot of respect for them, and I'm hoping that after the pandemic, that I'll be able to hang out with Miss Rachel and finally have a glass, of wine with her perhaps one day. And but yes, absolutely, we love Trax. They are, they're for me, as an electronic artist, it would be no different than if I were doing R&B and Motown came knocking on my door. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We respect and we honor them. So
Well, the good thing about those things like that is that everybody needs everybody one way or another. I'm not relying on a network. I don't need a network. I did it without a network. I did it without a website or a book or a DVD or a film. My job is to help all these other people and encourage them for what they're doing, and that's fun because I'm a movie whore. I love to watch everything. And I'll be watching, some of my stuff on Showtime. I'll be watching, last night's episode. No, tonight's Friday. I'll have to watch Blacklist tomorrow. But
yeah.
these things, keeping up with this stuff is not easy. You got more outlets now, and then I laugh at these people. When it comes to voting, I'm like, if I'm having a hard time watching this stuff, and I'm a movie whore, there's no way you guys are watching this stuff. It's not possible. You're voting for your favorites.
Absolutely. And I have to agree with you there. It's really hard to keep up with everything. It really is, because it's like things are, I find myself, in the morning before I actually, have my coffee and my water and I go out and walk, I find myself, first thing I do is I go to Music Business Worldwide. And then I go to IMBD. So But before I have even stepped outside of my house in the morning, I have plugged myself in to try and stay up to date with everything that is going on. So, I mean, because everything just, it comes out so fast. And then,
Yeah.
when you have like, these award seasons, when it's time to actually vote for stuff, you're just like, again, like you said, you're just like, oh, I'm just going to pick this, I'm going to pick that, because we know what it is. But I think a lot of people are in, right now, because there are so many streaming options. I feel like we are in a great time to explore. We don't have as many constraints, as we did traditionally, with big broadcasters, because we have, these independent segged off, offshoots like HBO now and Cinemax now. And so it's a really good time right now for not everybody creatively. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Streaming is I am just between me and you. I had this conversation last night because I am in music, right? Music was affected obviously by the internet before the movies were, obviously. The film business and the television business held up, I think, very well. I think over at least my last 20 years, because I remember with Netflix when it started, when it was like really big in like 2007 or 2000, I think it was like 2007, 2008. I don't know, it was like 17 or 18, I think, at the time. But it's always been hard to try and monetize that, right? And it's the same thing with music, because there are so many different hands that go into the production, and the problem with the streaming is, and I absolutely love it, right? Because it allows you to get it out there and for the eyes and the ears to be there. But my concern has always been, the engineer, the sound guy, the extra.
You don't realize how important the sound person is.
They never do. They never do. They never do. And I'm worried, that the film business is going to be affected in the same way that the music business is.
Well, here's my prediction. I'm good at predicting stuff. I saw this coming October 3rd of 2018, but really May 2018, and that's the same month that I picked um, um, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. May of 2018, I picked that ticket. I'm on record for saying that. I've said it in workshops and stuff like this. And I actually won a couple bets, and I don't even gamble. It's one of the things you get tired of being right. But the thing is, I'm telling people because it's about their lives, it's about their livelihoods. If I can see what you can't see, but it helps and benefits you, that's a plus for you because it's meant for you, not for me. I'm just giving you the advice and it's up to you to take it. It's free will, it's your choice. And for those people who have listened, their businesses have quadrupled. And those people who didn't, they're not even around anymore. And that's really sad because I did warn them and I did tell them. But it's up to them, it's their choice. And there's nothing worse when you're going up this way and you want these people to come up with it. And you say, it's like building Noah's Ark. The ark has been built. It's already started raining. It's starting to flood. And you can't go jump into any boat and try to catch up to it. It's too late. Everything's already accounted for. The train is, you can't catch up to another stop. There isn't another stop. It's nonstop.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more.
But it's one of those things where the music business, you guys are going to kick it off. And I tell people now, be ready. Within the next 3 months, everything is going to pick up slowly but surely, but safely, depending where you live. And at that point, you got to be ready. So if you hadn't written a song yet or a script or book or anything, you're running out of time. Because was just when you were locked down. Now's the time to be in action after April 15th of this year. Everything is in fruition. So because time is going to go quickly. And by after October, people are starting to go on tour for next year. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Time goes, it doesn't wait for anybody, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm definitely learning that too.
Well, it's one of those things. The lockdown was good for, I say the lockdown was good for people because it either gave you a chance to get off your ass and get stuff going, to catch up on those books, to watch those movies, again, write the stuff, write songs. You're a writer, you write all these things and get it all ready because by the time people go back to clubs in a different way, in a small capacity of things, you're going to be ready to get out there. You're going to be putting your stoves, your outfits together with what you can do, whether 25 people and then working your way up to 50 to 100 people. It's going to start small. It's got to go.
Yeah, and you know, and I think the quarantine was actually a blessing in disguise for me. I was actually able to accomplish so many things during the quarantine. In addition to, you know, complete a whole album, you know, I graduated from Berkeley online, which
Wow.
was great. Yeah, I know, right? I'm shocked.
That's not
My
easy.
God.
It's not easy to go in person. It's harder online.
I, you know, but there was just something inside me that said that I needed to keep going and I needed to stay busy. You know, because for me, like with film too, I even though I sing and I write and I do all of these things, I have a greater interest in actually having an understanding for how something works. You know, and being able to you know, understand production and to be able to understand music notes and to, you know, to be able to actually have a tangible skill outside of saying, oh, hey, I just sing. You know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the, you know, the singer, yeah, the singer's great. The singer can be replaced. But if you know, if you're a musician too, and you know, you can pick up, you know, a guitar and go from the acoustic guitar to, you know, the piano, you'll have a job and you'll be indispensable.
Well,
So that's
absolutely.
all, you know, and I feel like it's always been drilled back, you know, in the back of my mind, you know, growing up was, you know, make yourself indispensable, Alexander. Make yourself indispensable, Alexander. That's what my mother calls me. She doesn't call me Dante. She calls me Alexander. But I also would get frightened when I would hear that name too, because that usually means that you're in trouble when you hear that full name. So,
Yeah.
but, you know, I would always hear that, you know, in the back of my mind, you know, you need to do something to, you know, you know, just in case, you know, and I think now, you know, in these wonderful chaotic 2020s, you know, I think it's important, you know, for all of us as creators to know as much as possible about our business. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Um, it's definitely forced me to find different ways to connect with, you know, I hate to say fans. I'm gonna say list. I don't like fans because fans sounds like idolatry. I want to say listeners because I have the world listening to me, so I have listeners. But it's found me, you know, I found myself, excuse me, looking for interesting ways to, you know, connect with the listeners because I can't go out on the road like I would be ordinarily, you know. So whether it be, you know, having, you know, a streaming show or, you know, having, you know, my fans actually be in the studio with me, albeit virtually through Instagram or what have you, you know, it's forced me to step outside my comfort zone because I have to have more hands on the wheel, you know? So,
Absolutely. Everybody's entered our world now. This used to be the world you be behind, sitting in front of the microphones as we're behind it. Now everybody's entered into this world. And I tell everybody, yeah, anybody can do it, but can anybody really do it and go get sponsors and put all this stuff together behind the scenes? The answer is no. I
it's
mean,
very hard.
it is very hard. I mean, today's show number 3 today. Did 3 yesterday. Did 5 the day before that. The last 3.5 weeks, I've done 53 shows. I'm on show 44th of this year. However, I'm in season 10 on show 285. And it
Yay,
hasn't been a
congratulations.
year yet. I started April 2nd at our Zoom, and I don't even like Zoom. Hasn't been a year yet. Nobody's done that many shows in the world. And you know how I know this? Because I've numbered mine, and I've been able to get over 1 million views just on the YouTube channel. I'm not even counting out of Tennessee. We got 4 million plus in Tennessee. And I'm not
Yeah,
counting our iHeart stuff yet. Those numbers are coming in now, between now and April 1st.
yeah,
If
yeah.
we're at 7 million views a day and counting, and we get a minimum of 25,000 views to 50,000 views, what is that going to say on top of my 7? You see how my numbers are going to jump?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's
Nobody
great.
has that in the world. So I know what it's like to be nominated for something that I didn't even submit a show, and I ended up on 2 world best list. I don't even know.
Congratulations.
Well, that's why I say that to you, because it's not
Thank you.
easy to do now because there's so many people wanting to do it. But the fact that you get that, you can't take it lightly now because it's harder now.
You you know what? It's funny that you say that because I was having a conversation with, Eileen. Um,
Oh, we love Eileen.
we love her. Isn't she fabulous? She's great. I call it she's like the fairy godmother I've never had. But I was telling her that, you know, it's just, everything's happening so fast. And she's like, oh, honey, she's like, it's happening fast. She was like, enjoy it. She said, because to be nominated for something in this day and age is really, really hard. So you enjoy that. So I congratulations to you for that major achievement. It's always humbling, I think, whenever you're nominated for something and you don't uh, say, hey, put me on the ballot.
Well, this is what I tell the girls. I go, I couldn't have done this without you. There's no way a black guy can go to Tennessee, Franklin, Tennessee, not Nashville, do 6 shows in one day. And one of the shows is at 1.1 million views and still counting. It's today, as of last night, it's at 1,130,000 views and still going. Still going.
Wow, that's
That's show
great.
number that's show number three. The second show, the first 2 shows they haven't even put up. He put up that show because his friend was on it. However, the next one is at a million 94,000 views. So let's say the next 10 days it's going to be at 1.1 million views. That's the second show. Who do you know who's a person of color just out of Tennessee? Those shows aren't on YouTube because they go up
No.
on YouTube,
Yeah,
broadcast on the network. So I've got different numbers on different sites. Nobody does that. That's why it's unique.
that's a very, very big achievement. Congratulations. That's great. That's
Well, I
wonderful.
couldn't I couldn't have done it without you guys because here's the thing. If I hadn't done my Zoom thing, we wouldn't have gotten over our million view mark on YouTube. So, and I say I don't go by followers because you can always unfollow somebody. I don't go by
Yeah,
likes, you can always unlike somebody, and I don't go by subscribers because you can always unsubscribe. And I tell people this: you can never unview a view.
this is very true.
That's why, and again, this came into 2018 with my partner, Montague Pope LeBeau, who happens to be trans. So he came up with this. He goes, Brian, you got to think like this. And I said, okay, instead of being outside the box, I'm going to be hovering above the box. And
I like that. That's really creative. I like that. I'm
well,
gonna write.
everybody can say above they're outside the box, but how many people say they're hovering above the box, right?
I know that's groundbreaking. I have to take that.
Hey, you watch and see what we do. This won't be the last time that you're on. I'm going to have you on a future Tuesday night show. It'll be one of
Oh,
those things where you'll meet the other girls. They'll be happy to see you. Right now, there's just 2 people of color talking. Wait, do you see them? I'm the only black guy who's got 13 co-hosts, and they're all white. Well, except for 2, because they're always working. So this is something that Hugh Hefner and I used to joke about. I go, Hugh, you're really a pimp. You call yourself a business person in the day, but you're really a pimp. We could joke about this behind closed doors.
right. Yeah. I wonder what he was like as a person. He seems like he was actually pretty
He was a
fun.
great person. He was a fan of movies. He loved movies. That's why he had his movie Thursday night every Thursday and Sunday night. He invite people over to watch movies. And he give
I had no idea.
so we're running out of time. Give your outlets of what you're doing, how people can watch and see what you're doing.
Sure, great. So if you guys aren't familiar with me, you can go to dantesalexander.com. That's DANTES Alexander.com. And you can also search me up on Spotify or Apple Music just as Dantes. That's DANTES, Dantes. A little apostrophe above the E. We got to be specific for the folks. So what's going on now with me is we are actually getting ready to release the next single, which will be the Sixth Dimension. I've already played it for some folks, and it is phenomenal. I sampled the Fifth Dimension, Age of Aquarius, in that song. So I'm very excited to release that on the world. And we also are going to be putting out the Rainbow Bridge EP, which will be coming out in May. So be on the lookout for the Sixth Dimension, which will hit retailers late April. I don't want to give a date because, things can change because we have to wait on all powerful Spotify to include us on a playlist. So,
Yes, like I said, that's what I'm waiting for. You have to be able to adapt and adjust to the change.
yeah. So you can't just put it out, but so we have to follow those channels. We want to give it enough time to, to be pre-saved and all of that. And of course, I will get you that so you can share that with, all of your listeners. So yeah, and then we're also getting ready to hopefully start shooting Work in Progress season 2. I've just seen some casting stuff about that, which I'm absolutely happy about because everything, as you know, has been shut down. So yes, that's me, DantesAlexander.com.
Last question? What's your piece of advice for people who are starting out in the business now? What would you tell them? Because it's not really a roadmap.
There is no roadmap. That's the best piece of advice. But to follow that up, plant your seeds. Plant your seeds. I think, especially for younger people, especially the Gen Zs. I'm gonna go there because there's been like this battle between Gen Z and millennial. Okay, I'm a millennial. Okay, you have got to plant your seed. You have to go out and you have to take the steps to water it. And if you don't water your plant, it's not going to grow. I don't think I have to say anything else for our listeners. You have to take care of your seed. You have to water it. And if you water it, then it will grow. Some of the biggest trees, have taken hundreds of years to grow. Those things are inspiring for me. Again, I hate to, go back to what we were talking about, like with Morgan Freeman and LaBouche and, some of the other, legendary, music and film icons. Those guys put in work, and it didn't happen for them, overnight. And, and the biggest thing to remember is that there's no one way to achieve success. Success is a state of mind. So that's one thing that I've also learned.
I agree with that because I always tell people what Movie Reviews and More is like a garden. It's not Brian Sebastian. It's called Movie Reviews and More. And I had this sign I made up for one of our friends because I love the unique LED light products. I like things
I
like.
was looking at that. I think that's beautiful. I like
Well,
that.
I didn't want to walk red carpets with a piece of white paper on it. I'm like, let me just take my own sign and a brand who became a sponsor that I like on it. And I can change the colors if I wanted to. I can do anything.
I love that red. It matches with my my Cheeto ensemble that I have.
Oh, I've got different colors on it. That's why I like about it. I've had it again. I've had it since 2018. They drove down from Ohio to Tennessee, and the 2 shows that they were on, 1.6 million views and still counting a day. Still,
that's wonderful.
They were just on our Tuesday night show. They're very, very happy. The business is quadrupled. They're so busy that it took me a while to get them back on my show. I'm like, good for you. You guys took a chance on coming down to me. And
yeah.
You're always thankful for people like that. So that's why I always have, I don't go anywhere without my lights. I've got my little plug-in signs. I got another little night light that I go into the movie. When I used to go into the movie theaters, I could find my seat that says more on it. So
I wish we
it's
could.
a great thing.
I really do. It's driving me mad with these dual releases that have occurred. It really is. It's almost like it's. I mean, film and music are hand in hand, right? Because when the record goes out, it needs to go in front of people. It's the same thing with film. It's not the same experience, watching it at home. It's like going to South by Southwest. You have to have that body next to you, and that popcorn, and you hear that sound system. My sound system, I don't care how much money you have, I have. We're never going to be able to have the type of sound system that the theater has. And I've been to some pretty posh houses, and they were close, but they weren't they weren't spot on. You know what I mean?
I was attempting the warning again, going back to 2015. Regal Theaters, where out of Tennessee, AMC. I was calling them all. They weren't listening to me. They're starting to listen now because I got more views than they have, and they're closed.
Yeah.
I tried to warn them. But anyhow, that's it. I have to say this. If you see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours because the world needs it. I'm Brian Sebastian. Thank you so much for coming on. And we're going to have you on a live Tuesday night because I got 3 of the girls who sing. They're going to love to hear your story. All right.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate you, Brian.
And with that, we will see you next week.